Yo, Crawl here. Welcome back to a second tutorial on how to use Docker, or how to correctly use Docker and integrate it into your build chain or deployment chain to always use Docker. Now, in the first video, we basically just set up our first Docker container and put our bot into it, and it just ran, either with a config file or with environment variables, depending on which you prefer. I'll definitely prefer environment variables because it's a bit easier to manage them. Now, today we're going to go over how to automatically integrate building your Docker container from GitHub with travis.ci. And how to do that, super quick and easy. You go to travis.ci, travis-ci.org, and log in with your GitHub account. And you can already see like start repositories and like elective repositories. You will not have that, or you will not have as many at least. You just click and go to your account, and you can see all of your repositories here that you have. Some of them will be deactivated, obviously, because you don't have a travis.yum file. Some of them might already be activated if you already worked with Travis. If you did not, it doesn't really matter. What you need to do is you just need to log in first. Maybe sync your account, depending on if you have any repositories here. And after you did that, you go back to your project and you need a travis.yum file. So you just create that. It's called .travis.yum. And in there, I already prepared that because I'm not gonna type it out all again. You specify options for your Travis container. It's basically also running a container, right? And it builds stuff and tests stuff for you while you just need to lean back basically after you pushed. What it does basically is just go from top to bottom. This is the distribution. We're going to use Trusty right here because it's going to be the new standard anyway. Sudo required means like we have sudo access on the container itself. Services, we're going to use Docker. For the add-ons, why I do this here, like Travis already comes with Git, but the Git version doesn't support Git attributes, at least not the text auto EOL LF, because this is a feature that came in with Git 2.11 plus. And a Travis container doesn't come with 2.11 plus, so we need to install the latest package of it. For the environment variables, this is basically just yarn stuff because Travis also doesn't come with the latest yarn, which is not what I like because it has errors for my packages, so I need to install the latest yarn myself. Language, we're going to use Node.js, and Node.js in here you can specify Node.js version, so you basically could do 7.2, right? So for Node.js. Now your Docker, now you would have two containers running, one for 7, one for 8. But since we only run, our project only supports 8 anyway, so we're just gonna run on 8. Before install, it's basically just that everything before you call npm install, it will execute that. So obviously what we need is we need to get apt-get update, need to get the latest Docker, and install it. All of the other stuff here is basically just yarn. We don't need that, right? Like, completely unnecessary. And here in the install, you can ignore the cache. In the install, we just call npm install in our case instead of yarn install. And then we execute a script in bash, which is going to be the deploy.sh script. So this is basically a Travis file. After you push that to your repository, you can go to Travis, go to one of your repositories that has that file in it. For me, it's Toto, for example. And you can click on view config. I'm not sure if you will even have any of this, but you can double check it in here, for example, right? It will have the same output. Now, you can also click on the options here. And what I prefer to do is build only if a travis.yum file is present, obviously. I only build branch updates and I build pull request updates. What I do is I activate auto cancellation for my main branches and for pull requests. What this does is if I push through my master branch and then it starts building, but if I immediately, like 30 seconds afterwards, push something again, it won't wait for the first one to build. It will just cancel that old one and builds the newest one. This also applies for pull requests. And in here in the environment variables, we need that. We need to put in our Docker credentials. So you also, I mentioned that in the last video, you need a Docker Cloud account. So you just go to cloud.docker.com or to docker.com, and just on the top right, you can sign up for a Docker account. And in there, you just fill out all the values you need to create an account. So your password, your email, your username. Maybe they ask for your birth date. I'm not quite sure. And after you have your Docker account, you just go back to Travis and put in your email. The Docker email, put in your email in that field. Like, you can do that here, right? Put in your password and put in your username. Do not check display values on build log, please, because this would expose your password, your email, and your username on the build log that everyone can see. And after we did that, we are practically already done, because now we're going to take a look at our deploy script. You can find all those scripts, by the way, on my GitHub repositories. I will link one of them in my description, so you can actually just copy it out if you want to. We make it an, well, obviously we have the shebang here, and then we just make it an executable. Then we define a function that just executes npm test in our package.json, npm test, right? So script. So we do npm test. What it does is just running ESLint. What? Oh, what was it? npm test, right? We'll just execute, but we have one error here. So this is important, because if it encounters an error running this function, like I call it test, so I call it here, here, and here. If it encounters an error running that function, it will not build, it will not push your Docker container to the Docker Cloud. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that you do not have any errors before pushing to your GitHub repository. If you want to have a building Docker, you can just push a broken build, let Travis tell you, yo, there is something wrong, and then you fix it. But it's super inefficient. It doesn't take long to just run npm test real quick before you push. Now we need to fix that. So you can see here process env. So we just do ESLint, save a line, check if there is any pending errors. Now still there is none. So now we can go further. So what the script does is it executes npm test whenever I call it. First of all, it's important if the Travis branch is a revert branch. So Travis branch is just a variable for our GitHub branches. So if our GitHub branch is a revert branch, meaning I reverted a commit, we do nothing. We just exit out with 0. If our GitHub branch is a pull request, so if someone pull requests something to our bot or to our repositories, we do only tests. So we just execute npm test and then exit with 0. If it's successful though. If it's not successful, we don't exit out with 0. We throw an error and just say your pull request is not working. If it is a tag that we created, means a release, for example, or a tag on GitHub, you can create tags and releases on GitHub, then we specify a new variable here and assign it travis.tag, which is our tag, for example 1.0.2. Then we execute the tests, and depending on if it fails here or not, we cancel the script or we continue on. Let's say it obviously worked. We call docker login with our username, and here is the variable we defined here in Travis, right? Username and password. So we log in with username and password. Then we build our container, which is going to be the total container, and we build it right here, meaning we just execute the build from the Docker file here. After that, we tag it, meaning you need to somehow tag your Docker containers when you push them, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to download them from a server. We tag it. Obviously, I have the values hard-coded here, right? So you would need to change all the totals. You would need to change it to Umeka, and we would need to change all the crawls to your username, obviously. And then it just tags it as crawl/Umeka Docker release. what this does is the Docker release, obviously, is the Travis tag, right? So what this does is if we go to our Docker compose file, you can see here, if we change that to image, I already mentioned that in the last part, you can do crawl, todo, and then you do 1.2.0, for example, or you can do latest. And we also did that already in our Docker file right here, node, and then from node we did 8 alpine, because there is also 7 alpine and 6 alpine, right? So that's basically just the tag version of it. Now, after we did that, it pushes to our repository into crawl, Yumiko, and then whatever is after it. We do the same thing for the branches. Like, this is just for tags, and this is for the branches, just basically copy paste, but we changed that one variable here. And this will create our Docker image with crawl/Yumiko latest, meaning every single commit to master gets a new Docker container pushed to latest, and every single release gets a new Docker container pushed to our cloud. Now, after we did all of that, and we have Travis set up, and Travis is gonna build our containers. I can show you how that looks like, because I don't have a setup currently for Yumiko. So what it does is, where's the commit? Here. You can go to your commits, then you can basically see upgrade dependencies, and you can see like the check mark here, right? It will not be a check mark, it will be like a yellow circle when it's building. It will be a check mark when it's done. You can click on it, and then you will go to that commit, that to that build for that commit, and you can see what it does here. It exports the variables, then it would just start installing stuff that we defined in our Travis. Then it executes the shell script here, right? And it sees build triggered for branch master, because this is not a tag, this is a branch. Now it will go down, run our lint. The lint is successful because we don't have any lint errors. Now it will log in and starts building the container with all the things we put into our Docker file. After it finished that, it pushes it. You can see that here. It's successfully built, and then it tagged the release as total latest, and then it pushes it to docker.io, our username, and to total. And after that's done, it just exits out with 0 because it's successful, and we're basically done. So now our Travis built our container. But what does that mean? Well, now you can see that I have crawl command, I have crawl listen.more, and I have crawl todo. So, and this is also important. Well, I think that, because I mentioned it in the last video, you can have your config file in your Docker container, right? But this can be super bad, because anyone could just download crawl commando, install it on the server, and run it, and they would be able to successfully run it because I have a config file in there where it reads out the values. And this is why we use environment variables, because if anyone downloads that thing here, like the commando package here from Docker on their server, we can super easy just go in, download it, fill in the environment variables with our Docker compose file, and have our own running commando or todo or Yumiko or anyone who has ever published a Docker file. We just need to fill in one file. I will show you guys how to do that in a bit. So after you've seen that here, you will already have your builds here. This is for automated builds, I'm sorry. You will already have your tags here. There's the latest tag, it's 91 megs big. Last update was 4 days ago, and it's a Linux container, right? So now when we go to our server, right? Because you obviously need to know how to deploy that. Let's assume Travis finished building a container. It's up there, right? You can see it's there. Now what we need to do is we need to log into our server, this is my server, right? And what we do there, I cannot show this with Yumiko, but I can show it with Commando. So we just go into Commando, and you can see there is only, practically there are more files in it, but there's actually only one file in it. Like usually when you deploy your bot, you just do git pull and like bash in your whole Git repository with like all those files you can see here on the left, and then you need to make sure that you don't push your config.js file. We don't need to do any of that. So all we need to basically do is we just need to create a Docker file. So we just do vim docker compose 2 in that sense .yalm, right? And we just create a file here, and like we just start out, right? We just do version 3 and like services. Then we do Yumiko. Then we do image, right? Because it's the image we need. So we do our username / Yumiko latest. Then we do restart always. Then we do environment, and here we just put in our token, whatever that might be, right? Like, doesn't really matter. And here we do prefix. After that, we do filing here. After that, we just save the file, and now you can see if we do docker compose 2, this is all files, this is all we need. And now all we need to do on the server after we have Docker installed on the server, right? I said that in the first tutorial, like it's super easy, like don't worry about it. Like there's tutorials on it, it's on the docs page. Like I'm not gonna cover this. This is like just running some basic commands. All we need to do is like docker compose up -d. -d means launched in the background, right? Because we already said like if you don't launch it in the background and you close your terminal or you Control-C out of it, it will just stop the container. So I'm just gonna expose my token real quick here for Commando. So we do docker compose and just do that, right? And you can see this is my compose file here, right? My Docker file here. And in here you can see like a bunch of things, like a bunch of API keys and whatnot else. And when I start this up, I only need this file. And what I do is I literally just run docker compose down. This will take down Commando. Like it will stop Commando, Postgres, and Redis. It will take a time, I mean, because it needs to shut down all of those things. It's taking an awful lot of time to do that, but you can see it is making progress. To removing everything, nice. So I'm not sure what I have in my docker.sh file here. Yeah, and then you can do docker compose pull. Like you need to run that, right? Because the moment you have a new, your Docker container is updated from Travis, you need to docker compose pull. So you get like the latest changes. This will also pull for every other container you have in there, right? So if your other containers are not up to date, it will also pull that. For example, Commando updated, right? Like I didn't even pull the latest update of Commando onto like the server. So Commando was actually basically running on an outdated version. But that's fine, it's fine. Like it was working. And all you need to do now is like you need to wait for it to extract and install. Which depends on how fast your server is now, and not your internet connection anymore. And then it downloaded everything completely, and I just do docker compose up d, lean back, wait for everything to be created, and you have your bot running on your server with like literally one file. You just create it on a whim because you don't need anything else. You just need that one file, fill in the correct values, and that's it. So no more cloning your repository, no more pulling your repository. Nothing. And this is also why it's important to use environment variables, because like I mentioned, anyone could just download your Docker file and execute it if you have a config.js file in your Docker file. So you should use environment variables for that. And yeah, commando is up and running basically. I can check that with docker logs, commando. Like, why it has those weird names? Well, that's because if I ever decide to launch a Docker Swarm is multiple Docker containers on different servers. It will, like, I can do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like it's just auto-generated, right? And you can see it's up and running, connecting to database, synchronizing database, done synchronizing database, client ready, logged in as commando, right? And that's basically it for part 2. Now you know how to build with Travis, you have a deploy script, you know how to push it to your Docker cloud, you know how to pull it on your server, you know how to pull on your server, and you know how to start it on your server. That's part 2. I'm not sure what I'm going to do in part 3, maybe do some database stuff, but yeah, that's part 2. Enjoy Docker.